Evening. Thank you so very much for tuning in again to Position Transitions Teaching of God's Word. I was going today to talk about what humility looks like from a kingdom perspective. Do we look humble in the sight of God? But I was blessed today to interact with a young man who may be on the verge of becoming a leader at his job. And this is in the marketplace. And as we talked, I realized there are certain myths that people have about leadership and why sometimes good leaders fail at leading, fail at bringing direction. It is because of our mindset concerning leadership and how leaders lead. I'm only going to look at three things today that are myths about leadership and things that if we're going to be good leaders, if we're going to lead in God's kingdom, if we're going to take over territories and do the things that God has have us to do, then we have to understand the role of leadership. The first myth that I'm going to tackle is the fact that leaders are not people who tell people what to do. I know most people, they clamor for leadership because they feel like it is a position where I can sit and tell people what to do. That's dictatorship, not leadership. Leaders are not those who get to tell people what to do. Leaders are those who get to lead. That's what leaders are. Leadership is. Leaders are those who lead. Leadership is the act of leading. Where are people going who are following your direction? Are you giving them direction or are you telling them what to do? It's one thing for you to tell me how to do something or what to do, and it's another thing to show me how to do it. Some leaders can't tell people how to do because they don't know how themselves. They can't give direction. They don't have direction. They just feel like they've been positioned to tell people what to do. That's a myth. If you're going to be a good leader, and most good leaders put their shoulders to the grindstone, they're in the grind with those who are working with them. Leaders use language like we work together. Leaders use language like our project. That's what leaders say. Leaders don't use a lot of personal pronouns like my, I, what I did, what I accomplished. No, leaders recognize that I had to have help. Leaders recognize that if it weren't for God and those He's placed around me, I wouldn't be able to lead. So the first myth we got to get out of our head is that leaders are a position or leaders are people who get to tell people what to do. You don't get to tell people what to do. You can advise them. You can give them direction. But God knows the worst leaders in the world are those who try to tell people what to do. I often say the worst place for leadership are people who are self-centered, people who are egotistical, people whose self-esteem is so low that the only place they can go and dictate is outside their realm. You don't want those people. You don't want self-absorbed, self-centered people leading you. All right. The second myth that we're going to expel is that it is enough for a leader to get a vision. It's not enough. It is not enough. Visions require something that most leaders walk away from or don't even embrace. Once they get a vision, they start trying to look for people to run. That's a mistake. Because there are two things that you're going to need before your vision can come to pass. First of all, you're going to have to know how to impart that vision to those that you got to help you run with it. So the first part is impartation. Do you have a clear enough understanding of the vision that you can impart what you need to others? Some of the worst things a leader can do is try to tell people what to do and you don't know what to do yourself. You're not doing what you're supposed to do yourself. You have to be able to impart. And really, impartation is teaching. And you can't teach with this alone. You teach with your behavior. Leaders are those who can impart because they know how to show people what to do more than tell them what to do. If you show me a leader that's ready to show people what to do, I will show you a leader that will be great at what he does, whether it's in the marketplace or in the church. You cannot rest on your laurels of being able to tell people what to do and say, I have a vision, without being able to impart that vision. How are they going to run? How are you going to write what they're supposed to read if you can't impart it? Hold on to that. Think about that. The second thing that a good vision needs is implementation. What is your strategy? How is this vision going to be implemented? If you're leading on your job and you expect certain things from your people that are working with you, what type of strategies do you have implemented to get that done? Do you have a strategy? Do you have a working a way to get it done? Or are you just dictating orders? Are you just expecting because it's written that they can? No, you've got to have implementation. You've got to have a strategy. You've got to have a direction and a way that they can do it. You can't just impart it. You got to have a strategy. You got to be able to show them this can be done because this is how God gave it to me, or this is my vision. This is how I saw it done. I'm not just going to tell you what to do. I'm going to show you how to do it. I'm going to teach you how it can be done. And before I require it of you, I'm going to implement some strategies that will help you get it done. The third myth, and I'm going to end. The third myth is to think that leaders don't have to run with a vision. I remember it's been a couple of years ago, and I was thinking about something that God had shown me and something he wanted me to do. And he said to me, you know, most visions fail, not because of those who are supposed to be running, but because of the visionary. They don't understand their vision. They don't take the time to understand how to run themselves. How are you going to implement? How are you going to impart? How are you going to help people acquire a vision that you have unless you know how to run with it too? Visionaries are not sideline people. They are runners as well. Most great visionaries, they start out running. They run with somebody else's vision. They take somebody else's vision and help that vision come to pass. And then they end up, they're able to be in the midst of their running, they're able to see their own vision taking shape. They begin to see their own vision transpiring and taking a form. Most people who are trying to show or give a vision and they're not runners themselves, their vision won't come to pass. You have to, if you're going to be a leader, you got to have a vision. You got to be able to implement things to make that vision come to pass. You got to be able to understand that vision enough to impart into your people how to run. You can't just sit on the sidelines and feel like all you have to do is dictate to people. That is not what a good leader, that is not what a good visionary does. Whether you are being considered as a manager or a supervisor in whatever capacity of leadership, understand leadership. Take the time to look at what you do on a daily basis. If you're a father, how are you leading your children? If you're a husband, how are you leading your family? If you, whatever your walk of life is, how are you leading those that God has already given you to lead? If you don't even see yourself in a leadership position, no wonder you cannot get a vision to come to pass. No wonder you're afraid of leadership. Take a chance. Take a risk. Go forth and lead. Just make sure you understand vision. Make sure you're a dictator. Make sure you're a leader and not a dictator. I'm sorry. Make sure you have things in place that can be implemented to make this vision go smoother. Make sure you're able to impart. And don't be on the sidelines just telling people what to do. Get in there. It's your vision. Run with it first. Be the first one in line running. God bless you, and I'll see you next week.